Yep. So my name is Dr. Erin Davis, and on the spring 25 voyage of semester at sea, I taught two sections of psychopathology, which used to be called abnormal psychology, and then a section of positive psychology, which was the first time I've taught that class. And I teach in the US, I teach at Indiana Wesleyan University, and I actually teach master's students in graduate counseling. So this is switching to undergrads, which I really enjoy.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Um, so this project started during the voyage that we met with me interviewing six of my peers around the beginning and then at the end of the voyage.
Mhm.
And I wanted to document the personal processes that
Mhm.
semester at sea exposes us to.
Yeah.
And then knowing that you went to another voyage, I thought it would be
Mhm.
nice to have a professor's perspective.
Yeah.
So the concept is basically interviewing you before you get on the voyage and now afterwards.
Okay.
And how it's going to work is I'm going to be showing you, I'm going to tell you the question I asked you, then show you the answer. And
Mhm.
then you're free to react in the moment. You can add on to the answer. You can say what changed about your answer. Or if you have nothing to say, then I can do a follow up. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. And the first question I asked you was, what are you most excited for?
Mm. I think because I've done semester at sea once before and sort of once and a half before, I'm looking forward to the time with students teaching because the cross cultural teaching is so rich, learning from students from other countries, learning cross culturally about the ports we're visiting. I'm really excited this time because I've never taught positive psychology before. So, teaching positive psychology as a new class and on the ship is something that I'm excited about and just haven't done. So I'm still working on it and planning it. So I'm excited about that. As always, I'm excited about visiting the different countries. On this voyage, there are, I think, four port countries that I've never been to, and then another port that I've never been to. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Always the relationships with colleagues and meeting people from each of our countries. That's also something I look forward to.
All right. So looking back now, what would you say was the most exciting part or the most memorable, perhaps?
Most memorable. I like my answer from before. I think those were all parts of the voyage that I really value. Making close connections with students, meeting new colleagues, being able to see new port countries. Those were all exciting. I think there were some highlights of this voyage that I didn't completely expect, but one of them was South Africa and going back to South Africa, which I was sort of looking forward to the new ones, and seeing some new places. But there was something about going back to South Africa. I remember how much I loved it the first time, but that was in 2020 where we got sent home from. The only other time I had been there. So it was shutting down due to COVID, and we still got to see some things, but it was a disappointment not to be able to do my field class. Well, I got to do this field class I planned in 2020 in 2025 in South Africa, the exact same one, and meet the jailer of Nelson Mandela. And he took us around and showed us who later they became good friends. He showed us around and has turned Robben Island into a national heritage event honoring what happened and talking about apartheid. And it was just really life changing with the students. I was able to connect with him even after the field class, a couple days later. And then I also went and visited the University of Cape Town and met with some colleagues and talked more about positive psychology because they're trying to develop something there. So it felt like this um, professional coming full circle or coming back around and having such rich opportunities that I really was hoping for last time. And a country that I sort of fell in love with. Like, I just think Cape Town is one of the most unique and beautiful and diverse and cosmopolitan and kind of on the edge. I don't know, with progressing, a place on earth that I just love. So that was kind of a highlight, was South Africa. And I also loved Morocco this time because I went to a totally different area of the country. Before, I stayed in the south and went far south and did a camel nomad tent riding field program with students. This time I went all the way to the north near the Rock of Gibraltar and the coast of Spain, and it was beautiful and green and lush up there, which was not like the desertous Morocco I had seen before. And then Spain was a new port. So I think that last month of the trip, especially, or the last month and a half, were just highlights. I think the first couple of months were a little bit harder, and the end was wonderful. Where fall 22, where you and I were on the voyage, that whole voyage was really impactful. And there was something about it kind of sustained all the way through, I think, because our unique journey of going north to south and having wonderful climate and having a really good group coming after, fully coming back after COVID. So this one was different, and it was a little bit harder the first few months, but then I really had some highlights near the end.
Nice. So moving on to the next question.
Okay.
I asked you, it was an impromptu question because it just appeared in my mind that time, but it was, are there any lessons from previous voyages you would like to apply to this current voyage?
Yes, I think I came in knowing that the first month is a time of adjustment, that it's always a really good time to get to know names and people and really be open to making those relationships early because you get so busy as the voyage goes on. So, so I made a real effort the first 2 days during training to get to know all the faculty members. So that's really nice, all the faculty, both the staff and faculty. And I also remember from last time how exhausting semester at sea can be, that because I'm an introvert and it's such a place filled with people that I need to take time alone by myself in the cabin whenever I need that. So this time I've been doing that anytime that I need just 20 minutes or just need it to be really quiet. And also find the places on the ship that are cool when I'm really overheated. So a few places to work or to be if I need to cool off. Um, and I know my preference is for swimming every day. So when the pool is open, I swim. When it's not open, I often make sure I get outside and have, eat on the Lido deck and see all the sunrises and sunsets. So those are some of the things that I knew I wanted to do.
Yay, good answer. I like it.
So would you say you applied those to
For
the
sure. I was looking through my journal because this spring 25 voyage was a really hot voyage. Like, it was hard to cool the ship, and I was in the front of the ship where usually you get cool off the water, and the water was averaging like 93 degrees, and
Wow.
the air conditioning, really, I didn't have air conditioning the whole voyage, and so it was very, very hot, and trying to adjust bodily to that was difficult. But like I said in the video, I think I was finding places in the ship that I could go when I just needed to try to get my temperature cool down. I swam every time that the pool was open, which it wasn't always open, but when it was, I was there. And I really made that effort because in the first time I did semester at sea, I didn't realize how key it would be to get to know names and faces, especially of faculty first, because it's just us on the ship for those first couple days, and then really to learn the students' names early and memorize them, because the first time you go, you're so focused on all of the logistics, where are my classes? What am I teaching? How am I going to set up the teaching? So it was nice to have a little bit of that where I'd done it once. So it felt like an easy learning curve, and then to really focus on forming the relationships. And yeah, I was able to do that and really enjoy making more and deeper connections with the faculty, and then also with the students, and a fun thing on this voyage, because it was such a hot voyage too, was that I swam so often that I actually ended up being in the pool with a few other people who also swam often. You know, there was, whenever the pool was open, there was kind of this there were some of us that were really loved it even early in the morning. And there was this group of students, not all students that I had in classes, most of them I didn't, but we called ourselves the mermaids, because every time the pool was open, we would just WhatsApp each other and say, the pool is open. And go in the pool and swam with this group. And it was interesting. It was a group, we called ourselves the mermaids, and it was, our names fit into the word mermaid. So shout out to Molly, Maggie, Iman, Sue, Dimitri, and they were from like 4 different countries all over the US. And we just had this little mermaid group. And everywhere we went in countries, we would send pictures of mermaids that we would find. And it was just a really neat bonding experience. So I enjoyed it a lot. And it was needed. It was needed for my body, being, you know, in perimenopause and being so overheated from no air conditioning. To just have that water support was lovely.
Wow, I'm amazed that the names fit into
I
mermaid.
know. I know. The first time that I was adding us to WhatsApp and texting, I was like, wait a minute, our names fit in this word. So then, yeah, it was kind of a fun thing, and we still keep in touch and send mermaid pictures, or when we're swimming, you know, send pictures of swimming, and something we all had in common.
Wow, I'm amazed. That's all those
Very
coincidences,
fun.
right?
Yeah.
Um, okay, this is not a question I asked you, but I just realized
Yeah.
that I need to ask you this. Like,
Yes.
what 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 was different from this voyage? I know you
Mhm.
already talked about the temperature,
Mhm. Yeah.
but maybe if you can talk a little bit more about other aspects, I don't know, like maybe the community or I don't know, what was yeah, what was different in general?
What was different. So one of the things that was outstanding on this voyage was, and I didn't realize how much this would impact the community and the voyage, is we had a dean, and I'm sure she was working, academic dean was working with ISE and semester at sea, but we had the best interport lecturers, the best team of interport lecturers that I've experienced in all of my voyages. So to have people in between, and as you know, interport lecturers prepare you for the port you're getting to. And if they're really relational, they really draw students in, they bond with us, not only from their talks that they give, but also from eating meals together and being around. And it was just such a joy this time to connect with each of the interport lecturers, for them all to be really high quality. So there, I think there was only one that I didn't have speak in both my classes. So to always have that preparation of the country coming up. And one of the ones we had, I highly recommended and asked them to invite her back, and then she came back from India. So
Priyanka?
yes, Priyanka.
Um,
So anyway, it was just so fun to have the connection that was made there before, and to see the whole voyage just embrace her and everybody learn how to dance Bollywood style, and for her to be doing it again, you know, and learn from her past events. And um, anyway, so the interpret lectures were outstanding. I think too, the team, we had the first and only time, how do I say that? The first all Latina leadership team. So our academic dean, our main dean, and our dean of students were all Latina and female. And that was powerful and wonderful. And I think there's been very few times that it's even been all women, you know? So then to have all women and all Latinas, when, as we know, study abroad and semester at sea, often it's 70 to 80% female, you know, and often
yeah.
there's a big group of Latina females. So I loved that, loved being under their leadership. It was an amazing group of RDs and student life staff too. That was so fun to get close to them and to see them interact with the students. So the Olympics was a highlight, because there was such, rather than being super competitive, it was competitive, but in a fun way. And it was a super bonding experience of like the seas helping each other and cheering for each other. And, you know, there was a lot going on there that I thought, ooh, this is amazing. And that was from the student life staff, I think, that were able to make it that fun, you know, and interactive. So those things were definitely highlights. Um, some of the things that were difficult that were so much, you know, more fun, like on fall 22, was a lot about environment and climate and temperature and ease, and the bonding that stayed through the whole voyage, and the jam sessions that we would have on your voyage. That doesn't always happen. And there wasn't that happening on spring 25. So every voyage is a little bit different, but does have its strengths. So did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, another impromptu question. How was sharing this voyage with so many of the same professors as our voyage?
So we had this core, we took a picture with Priyanka because it was kind of that. There was probably, I think there was maybe 10 of us that sailed in fall 22. And, Paul was a lifelong learner, but the rest of us were faculty or companions. And that's always a highlight when there's some people that and you've worked with before, because it just deepens the experience and you know a little bit about what you're doing and you're able to kind of reach out and expand the community, bring others in it's their first time. But there is especially in this program in semester at sea, there's something really powerful about returning and having some returners there and some people who have done it before and that you've already got such a deep bond with, but you live, countries away from each other or far away from each other and don't see each other very much. And you know what you're doing and you're going back in and enhancing it and trying to make it better. So yeah, that was really, really fun. And Sana and Steve, I've seen twice since the journey because I've gone up to Portland and they live in Portland. And Alyssa, who is the
Yeah.
Blue World Oceanography, I've seen her. She lives in Portland.
Did
A
you
lot of
go,
people.
sorry,
What's
did
that?
you go on the voyage?
She was global studies. Yeah,
Oh,
she was the Blue World and she did amazing. Was really,
wow.
really good. Did really
Wow.
well with that. So yeah, so there were some really good moments there, and it's a highlight. I think that's one of the things Semester at Sea does well is bringing in new people, but also bringing back people and trying to build the strongest faculty they can.
Okay, so you've already talked a bit about the challenges you faced,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the temperature.
Yeah.
But one of the questions I asked you was, what challenges do you think you will encounter?
Oh, okay.
This is what you said.
I think often the challenges are adjustment. So adjusting to the time changes, the temperature changes. Like today, we're having our first sort of rough day at sea. So the waves are really strong, and a lot of the students are feeling seasick, and a lot of people are very tired because it's been kind of constant since we got on. So I knew the challenges would just be being able to listen to my body and what I need, emotionally, what support I need. And this time, particularly for myself, I think the age I am, being in kind of perimenopause, menopause, it's hard to regulate my temperature. So I knew that would be more of a challenge this time. And my energy is lower. So knowing how to care for myself in that way and just rest when I need to, I knew that would be challenging.
Exactly. It was kind of interesting. This one morning, I came out of my seventh floor cabin, absolutely dripping sweat, because even in our cabins, it was hot all the time. The hallways were hot. And then two other people were coming out the same time as me, a colleague from South Africa who's in her 60s, and a colleague from Spain who's in her 60s. We're all women. We're all walking out at the same time. And one of them looked at me and said, "This is unfair working conditions. I don't know if I can do it." I'm like, "I hear you." And she's like, "Should we do some kind of protest? Should we set up picket signs?" And I'm like, "If it would help." But it was nice to even be in it together, because all three of us, you look at our faces, and then there were a few eighth floor people like Betty, who was our 90-year-old Voyager, who she was always too cold. She was like, "My room is so cold and I use both comforters." And I was thinking, can I come sleep in your room? Because that sounds amazing. So, I mean, there was a few places on the ship where the air conditioning was working, but the rest of us, it was tough. And some people don't notice that kind of thing. They can, a lot of 20 somethings don't feel the heat. But I also had some people in classes that were like, "I slept in my classroom last night and I slept in the union." I'm like, "I've tried both of those, because it's
Wow, that's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, so those were the challenges and adjustment, but the time changes weren't bad. It was mostly for me this time more temperature and regulation and having energy. I also wish I would have discovered earlier that electrolytes are so needed when you sweat all the time. I just have never been a Gatorade drinker, but a friend of mine from home said, "Have you been drinking Powerade, Gatorade, getting electrolytes?" I'm like, "I haven't even thought of that." And I went and bought a Powerade from the library and drank it. it tasted so good that I got another one. And by the next day, I was like, I feel almost normal, but I just didn't want to buy a Powerade every day, you know?
Yeah.
So I was trying to learn how to regulate electrolytes, and I need to figure that out for the future.
So I asked you, usually I ask um, students who are about to embark on the journey, what
Mm-hmm.
what are their goals for the voyage, right? Like what do they hope
Mm-hmm.
to achieve by the end?
Yeah.
But specifically, I asked you if you have any specific goals for teaching or
Mm-hmm.
interacting with students.
Okay.
Yes. So always my goals when I'm teaching in person, and especially on semester at sea with undergrads, is to really connect with each student, to memorize their names within the first 2 weeks, or even sooner if I can, to have them be able to become a group bonded together so that they learn each other's names too within the first few weeks, and that we have fun and engage our bodies and engage in learning in ways that are practical, so that the material isn't just about other people or academic, but it's actually applying to our own lives and our families. So, yeah, being very interactive in class, discussion based, and making sure I connect with each person is always a goal for classes. And then for this time, always improving my psychopathology class because I've taught it 3 times, and then really making the positive psychology the best I can because this is my first time. So I'm learning, but really wanting to bring in as much as I can of getting students excited about positive psychology. And my goal was to have them practice all of the really good tools and techniques that can really be transformative. So I have them doing a workbook where they're practicing a different tool or technique every week, all 15 weeks we're on the voyage. So yeah, that was some of my goals.
Did you achieve those goals, would you say?
Yes. Yes, I would say I did. I feel like I was able to really learn everybody's names. I was able to do a lot of bonding kind of stand up and move things where they got to know each other as much as they were willing to. You know, that's always depending on the class. It's interesting how some classes really bond and some don't, and you don't know why when you do the same things. I had this time an 8 a.m. class, which I hate 8 o'clock in the morning classes. But the choice was to either have an 8 a.m. class, which I chose in the Kino because it's a private, nice space, or to have a 4 o'clock p.m. class in the main, what's the place where you have to teach together down in the main huge room? I
The
just lost the name of the union, the union. So
yeah.
I was like, no, I don't, I like when my classes have the private space and they're not other people walking around. So I did an 8 a.m. and I think that one, I thought it would be harder for me than it was. And it was difficult. And I think it was probably more difficult for the students than me. You know, I'm not a morning person. I know a lot of them weren't either, but interacting and, you know, bonding and all the ways that class happens at 8 a.m. when you're on a ship and you're so busy all the time and staying up late was a challenge. And yet I was really, this was a fun thing, Natalia. You know how they do the roommate game? Did they do the roommate game when you were on there?
What's the
I
roommate
don't know
game?
if they did. They had a nightly evening event where you could apply with your roommate to how well you know your roommate, you know, and your roommate would answer a
Oh,
question, then you would, so almost like the dating or newlywed game, but it was for roommates.
wow.
So I wasn't able to go. There was something that happening the next day, and I stopped in at the union and watched it for a while, and then I left. So I wasn't here when this happened. But it got down to the last few roommates, like at 10:30 or 11 at night. And the two roommates were in my class. They were cousins, and they were both in my 8 a.m. psychopathology class. And the question they won on was, what's your favorite class? And the answer was Dr. Davis's 8 a.m. psychopathology class. And so they sent me a little video of it because they won the game and on my, you know, on, and I was like, wow, some people actually liked the 8 a.m. class. So that was news to me. I was, you know, can't really tell when people are sleepy if they're liking it or not. But so that was, I think that told me I was able to even get through in the mornings and be able to have students learn and still love the topics, and a lot of discussion based like I wanted to. So I think meeting those goals, I did. And the positive psychology class was challenging to, anytime you do new class, it's challenging to stay ahead of the students and see what works and see what things are applied well. And I had some lifelong learners in that class. So I feel like it was a rough version because it was the first time I taught it, but I did it as well as I could, and they were able to practice and did the workbooks, and so that part was good.
Nice. And you also gave that wonderful speech at the end of the voyage.
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask you,
You did the wonderful video for, can I just say?
thank you. Honestly, that voyage was so useful in all, like in my creativity. I did everything. I made a song, I made a video, I made a lip dub, I
Yeah.
interviewed people.
And you influenced all the women on the ship to shave their heads, which did not happen on the other voyages I've been on. I mean, there was a really amazing positive peer culture there that was
For sure.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but I also interviewed the women when they were freshly shaved and
I
then
watched all those.
really?
Yes, they were very
Wow.
good. Yes.
You. I still
Several of
need to
those were
check
in
out
my
the
class
video.
students, so I
Really?
knew that they really influenced them because I came back to teach that day after the head shavings, and I was like, I don't recognize half my students because they used to have this long hair and they were all shaved head, and I had to get used to re-understanding their names based on no hair, which was interesting.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, one of the experiences that I miss, which is so random, is just being bald, surrounded by so many bald people. Like we would kiss each other's heads or like
Yes.
rub each other
Didn't you
or
have a chance to? Didn't you have a baldies or something?
yeah, or like bald, bald, bald,
Bald, bald, bald,
bald.
bald. Yep. I loved it. It was great.
Oh my God. I wish, I somehow wish we could make a movie of our voyage. It was just so great.
Yes, it would be good. I think you could. You could probably make a movie with all the footage you have and the little shorts you've done. You could probably
Yeah,
do it.
it's definitely on my list. It's just so overwhelming to think about.
Yeah.
I think I have to
Yes.
take it like
A
port
little
by
bit at a
port
time.
maybe, and then like
Yep.
put them
Yep.
together.
There was only I think three or four total women who shaved their heads, including a couple professors and a couple students. The two students that shaved their heads had an amazing experience of what happened after that, and they went viral on TikTok.
Wow.
And then had all this, when anybody goes viral, they get all the hate underneath. So they spoke about what happened and when they went to countries after, like they went to Ghana after and were treated very differently because here were these two women who had shaved heads. So they had quite an experience and did some talking about it later on in the voyage and shared
Nice.
the video that went viral. It had like 17 million views. So you'll have to check that out. It was a big deal for those two, but they were the only ones.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah. And a lot of sexism and
of course.
body shaming and traditional roles and ideas about women, which happens a lot with our clothes, but really happens with our hair. So it was interesting to hear what was out there, and they handled it really well.
That's great. I remember
Hmm.
when I shaved, because I shaved before going to semester at sea.
You did.
And I posted for my birthday. Imagine, like I was like, I don't want to throw a party this year. I want to shave my head.
Yeah.
And then I posted a video and I posted
Mhm.
a photo. And some people responded to that photo saying like, "Are you okay?" I'm like,
Concern. Yep.
I
Yep.
was like, if I
Yeah.
was a man, would you ask me that?
Exactly.
Right? It's so normalized. It's
It
crazy.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is. Hmm.
But okay, I asked you the question like 10 minutes ago, but
Yeah.
um here's your answer to if you have any goals with cross current activities,
Yes.
speeches.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have obviously a new dean every voyage. So Fabiola is our academic dean this time, and I put forward, she asked us what kind of evening seminars we'd be willing to do, and I did the same thing I did the last two voyages where I said I would do it on dream work or on positive psychology. So she gets to pick, if and when I do those in the evenings, but I'm willing to do both or either. And then the psychology movies in the keynote, there haven't been many slots available. So I kind of let the students choose. Are there any of these movies that you want to watch together in the theater? Because now the system is that they can watch them all on their TVs in their cabin. When I first started doing those, we didn't have access to that. You couldn't just select and do it on demand. So I'm still willing to do that, but we haven't scheduled anything yet.
So
Yay.
so tell me like Which cross did you do the cross current?
Yes. So the one that she asked me to do was the dream work one. And it was about a little past halfway through the voyage. Um, and it went really well. It was similar to when I did it in fall 22, but that was right at the end. Do you remember how close to the end that was that I did it? But do you remember how, I don't know if you experienced this or it was just because I was the one that did it. They were called evening lectures. And I did the dream work one and it was a good turnout. And then on the ship the next day, I heard people talking about dreams everywhere, and everybody stopped me in the hallway asking about their dreams. And the kids asked questions about dreams, and then they would get together in groups and be like, "Can you help us with these dreams?" So that went on for a little while after, which I always love, especially the ship kids, how interested they are and how ready they are to share their dreams and how much they ask questions and get involved. But I had several other students that weren't in my classes that then I met and got close to because of that seminar, because they said, I'd really like to talk about this, or can we talk more? And so that's always a really good way of connecting too.
Nice.
Yep. And the movies, again, the system is different now, which is really nice, where they can in their rooms just pick the show they want to watch. So if they want to do extra credit, I offered all the same movies and they could do extra credit just by watching them in their rooms, and a lot of students did that. But the kino was always booked, so it was like almost impossible to have a movie night. I think I tried it maybe once or twice, but it was just so hard to even get a time. I think the two that I did were pretty impactful though, because when I tried to get the Kino to show the Mandela movie before South Africa, which is a really amazing movie, The Long Walk to Freedom, they said we want to show it in the Union and invite everybody to come. So that one I hosted with another RD friend, and we introduced it together and then showed it and then had questions and discussion after in the Union rather than in the Kino. So that was really nice. Yep.
How about did you give another speech at the end?
Oh, I didn't. I didn't do a
You
speech at the
didn't?
end. I don't know that they did it the same way. I'm not sure if our academic dean like asked the students who they wanted to speak, because there was nothing said about that. But our speaker was incredible. She became a really close friend. I think I have a picture of her. Yeah, she had been on semester at sea like 7 or 8 times. Here's a picture of her. And her youngest son was on the voyage. So, and she was from South Africa, and she gave, and her topic or her subject was public speaking, and was journalism, and she was an amazing communicator. So she gave the end speech and it was profound, which I love. And then our dean Fabiola just became the academic dean for all of semester at sea. She's now the new ISE dean. So it's cool too to know her and to know that she's now in that position.
All right. So the second to last question I asked you
Yeah.
was, what would you like to keep present with you
Ooh.
throughout the voyage?
Ooh, can you ask that another way?
Hmm. What would you like to never forget of all
Oh,
kinds during the voyage?
got it. I think this is what you're asking, but I would always like to never forget that I'm just one of the whole community, and that and remember that each person has their own unique story, and they're dealing with specific things on each specific day where they may have different needs and different emotions. I always want to keep in mind that I trust in the bigger picture of the universe or God or love, or however you want to say it, that who we're meant to meet or who we're meant to come in contact with will happen if we're open and available, and that the connections that are meant to be made, or the people that I'm meant to be close to, or that I can learn from, or they can learn from me, that will happen. So always keeping in mind kind of the bigger picture of trusting, like trusting being held. And I always keep in mind what a privilege it is to be on this voyage, not only to be on it, but to be paid for getting to do this, do what I love. So even when it's really hard or really challenging or really uncomfortable, I know how many people would love to, try to do it and can't, or will never have that opportunity. For me, I always remember that I'm on the ocean. So I always feel really held by Mother Nature and the world, and just the constant movement is something that I love. So I always keep that in mind, where I am, who I'm with, what a privilege it is to be here, and all the possible opportunities to learn. I think everywhere I am, just learning about cultures, learning about people, learning about nature, just how amazing it is that we can travel around the world in this day and age.
Yeah, she's got good answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was able to hold that. I remember moments where the support of the ocean was so critical, like where it was so warm. It was really hard for the first few months, January and February, because we weren't supposed to open our curtains or our doors. You know, we have these kind of windows in our, at least in my cabin, that you can open and see the ocean. But because it was so hot, the sun was so intense, and the ship was already so hot, and they couldn't air condition it. Then I was in this dark room with the curtains drawn, and that was really hard for me, because part of what really is glorious about semester at sea is when everything's open and you can see the sea and you can feel this breeze and you can watch the birds and the fish, and be able to connect in that way with nature. But that definitely was true of the last month. So I think being able to finally open South Africa was kind of the first, halfway through the voyage was the first time I was able to open the door and open the curtains. The first time the temperature got below 85 was South Africa. But with all the other ones, it was between 85 and 105. And then Ghana went back up to that hot too. Ghana was like 103 every day. So I think there was just the times that I could feel supported by the ocean were really, I was so thankful when they finally got there, because I was used to having that the whole time, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is so hard without that. It's so hard. And when it was there, but I did remember, I did keep in mind the awareness of the connections that were available to be made in different cultures and countries, and with students and staff. I loved connecting with the interport lecturers, like in Ghana and in South Africa. There were new interport lecturers, and in Ghana, we went with her to she was doing an art exhibition for the first time about the diaspora of African women to all over the world because of slavery. Had this amazing collection of art that she'd collected her whole life. So like 50 years of art. And so we went there in Ghana with other people from the ship and got to connect with her and spend time with her. And she spoke in both my classes, and she's an ambassador to South America from Ghana. She's the ambassador to South America. And her sister starred in The Color Purple. Do you remember that movie long ago? The Color Purple with Oprah Winfrey and Whoopi Goldberg? No?
I haven't
You're
watched
young. Oh, you got to look that one up too. That's an amazing movie, The Color Purple. Her sister starred in that. So her sister also came on board. And it was so
Wow.
fun to be with her. She still looked like, 30 years later, you could still recognize her. Anyway, there was just some lovely connections like that, and people that I will forever be changed by. And something, keeping in mind the awareness of listening to my body, and also listening to what was most needed for me to have energy through the voyage. It was really different this time because I didn't do field programs with the students all the time. On the other voyages, I was doing field programs a lot with students. With this one, there was often just this need to get off the ship, find air conditioning, and rest. And I had other faculty members that wanted the same thing. So they were often like, I already have a motel room. Just come and stay with me and let's rest and recover. And I did that in most of the ports. So it
Wow.
was such a different experience because I wasn't doing all those same field programs, but it was nice because I had already done a lot of them. There were a lot of the programs in the places we'd been, I had done some of them. So I did very few. And it didn't change the experience of really feeling like I got to be in the cultures, though. It just was less contact with the students. And I think I needed the rest. So I just listened to that.
Yeah. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
But kept up that awareness that it's a privilege and that not everybody gets to do it. And I was still grateful for it, even though it was so hard. And in the middle, when people were going, I don't think I can do this ever again, I was like, oh, I probably still would, even though it's so hard. Yeah.
So the last question I asked you was to give yourself a message, to give your future self a message.
Like it.
Uh, I think future Erin, I want you to be proud of yourself, that you, as always, stepped out of your comfort zone and left the things behind that are easy to do and instead did what was challenging, knowing that it would be enriching to yourself and to others. Proud of you for teaching a new class and for engaging with people from all over the world. I hope you know that you can trust that your body and emotions will be taken care of when you pay attention. And I hope you can say at the end of this voyage that um, it was life changing and transformative, and you've made bonds, friendships, and connections that will have a lasting impact on you and on others. So well done. You finished it.
Oh, I got a little bit teary there.
Oh.
That was really good and really needed. And I think it's true. I think the recovery time after this voyage was longer for me. I was like, oh, that really took it out of me. Like I needed the summer, I think, to rest and recover. And I don't remember it being that long on the previous voyages. And I also think there was a sadness. There was a sadness that I was carrying about how wonderful fall 22 was and it not being the same, and you compare them just because you're on the same ship. And there were some of the people that I was working with that had been on before that had said, I don't think I'll do this again unless we have a new ship or unless they change something or unless the itinerary changes. And so I think there was kind of a grief that went, yeah, it's not the same, and yet it can still be really good. And I kept reminding myself that for the students on the ship, this was their only, first and only, and the time that they'll remember. So for me, there was other times and other voyages, and for them, this was it. So keeping the intensity and the strength of how life-changing the experience was, even when there was a part of me that was sad, when it was different, or it wasn't as easy, or it was more draining. There were also wonderful things about it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Wow. I love this project because it, it's so much deeper than if you would
Yeah.
just tell me how it was, right? Like you can see what you were feeling in that moment.
Mhm.
Um, since we have a few minutes left, maybe is there, with everything you know now
Mhm.
and what everything that has been transformed inside of you,
Yeah.
would you like to give future Erin a message?
Ooh, I really liked that. So thank you for recording that and thinking of that intentionally and knowing the impact of that. Yeah. And I think for my future self, I'm just going to throw out there a year from now or even 2 years from now, um, saying you're going to make it, that there are days that are really hard where it feels like this is too challenging, or you can't, or you don't have what it takes physically or emotionally, or where the mental challenges are really hard, or where it would be easier and more comfortable to stay, or to have, to not stretch yourself or put yourself out there, but it's always worth it. Um, and you're not done yet with teaching and with cross-cultural exploring and with being available and connecting what you've learned and what you have to offer with those who are also on the voyage and ready to engage in those ways. And I can keep giving generously as I age, and as there's hard times, and even when circumstances are less than ideal, that I can still take care of myself and figure it out and rest when I need to rest, and also have moments that are energizing and memorable. And it will be sweet, to be able to do it even through the hard times. So well done. Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Yay.